Do you remember the first website you ever visited? Was it YouTube? Maybe MSN? Or maybe even Neopets? Back in the day, surfing the web seemed like you were opening a portal to a different magical world. Today, with all the apps and cell phones that are constantly connected to the internet, we've started taking these things for granted. But join me today as we take a step back to remember how Wikipedia replaced entire libraries, MySpace and Facebook reshaped the way we made friends and stayed in touch, Amazon and eBay felt like treasure troves of cheap bargains, and Googling something wasn't even a verb yet. This is the history of the most visited websites from 1995 to today.
Welcome. You've got mail.
In the early days of the internet, AOL was the internet for millions of people. It dominated throughout the entirety of the 90s. This is because most people, in order to even access the internet at all, would use AOL as a gateway. Many never even left its ecosystem, as it provided email access, instant messaging, a homepage filled with interesting stuff people wanted to know about, and for the very few who did want to leave the ecosystem, it even had a built-in browser. As AOL was also an internet service provider and even the most popular one in the US, and the US was one of the first countries to more commonly have access to the internet, it just makes sense seeing their website on the top of this list. AOL became the first page to reach over 100, 200 and even 300 million visitors a year. But in the year 2000, a competitor of theirs overtook them and became the first to reach 400 million. This website was also the first website that I've ever used. I'm talking about Yahoo.
Do you, Yahoo?
As broadband became more popular and the whole world became more interconnected through the internet, it was only natural that the American-based AOL wouldn't stay on top. Yahoo saw this and immediately started launching localized versions of their portal in many different languages. And unlike AOL, you didn't have to pay any subscription to use it. You see, most of their features were actually only really accessible through a subscription fee. On the other hand, Yahoo was completely funded by advertisement. It also didn't need any special software to run properly, as almost any browser could open Yahoo at the time. Just like AOL, they also had an entire ecosystem. They were an email provider, a news source, they had games and other entertainment, but what they were best known for at the time was their website directory. Did you know that before Google's search first approach, in order to find any website on the internet, you would go to a place like Yahoo, where they had a curated list of links that you could go to. Yahoo wasn't the only one doing curated directories, but it most certainly was the biggest and most popular one. With all of these features and Google almost nowhere in sight, Yahoo became the go-to place for anyone who wanted to surf the web. Their biggest competitor? MSN.
Give me Tokyo on the line, morning, sir. Okay, let's get
it now.
By the late 90s, Microsoft really started building a monopoly in the PC market. Almost every consumer computer was running on Windows. And with this operating system, the first actual popular internet browser came to be. I'm of course talking about our good old friend, the Internet Explorer. And looking at this chart race, you can certainly guess what the homepage on the Internet Explorer was. MSN. Especially in the early 2000s, people were barely ever changing their homepage to something else. This means that almost every Microsoft user, when trying to access any kind of website, would go through it. But it doesn't end here, because Microsoft acquired Hotmail back in 1998. It was one of the first free email providers and quickly became the most popular email domain in the entire world. In order to log into Hotmail, you of course had to go over MSN. It also included their messaging app and quite a few other features. Still, it couldn't quite reach the heights of Yahoo's popularity. While it was embedded into the Internet Explorer, many hardware and software production companies had deals with Yahoo to replace the home page on any browser with their own. If you were on the internet in the early 2000s, you probably know just how annoying it was sometimes when you just try to download some software and all of a sudden your browser opens on Yahoo. This became especially annoying when Google started becoming more popular, and most internet users wanted to set it as their homepage. This started becoming a popular thing to do around 2006 when Google overtook Yahoo in yearly visitors.
You have to say, hey Google, or okay.
Hey Google. Okay Google.
In the early 2000s, most websites looked like this. Colorful backgrounds, flashy images, cool GIFs, loads of different buttons, tabs and options. They were just really cluttered. It's like companies were trying to fill every last square of their website with something for you to look at. Okay, now let's take a look at Google. It's so clean, no clutter, lots of white space. All it is a big old search bar. But god damn it, it's amazing. You can type in anything you want and you can immediately find what you're looking for. It has a magical algorithm ranking websites, making it so that you can actually find the good information you need. It loads up super quickly, even on dial-up internet connections. And it wasn't even trying to sell you anything. Sure, in 2006, Google didn't really have all of the other fancy features that MSN and Yahoo had. But the one thing it's supposed to do, finding the right websites for you, it did absolutely amazingly. Back when it started, the word search engine wasn't even a thing. Google was considered a web directory. It was the only company that would automatically crawl other websites on the internet and then rank them based on backlinks, click-through rate and some other factors. All of this for every single keyword imaginable. You could look up anything you wanted to and you would always get the right answer. Today we're used to it. Back then it was magic. Sure, nowadays Google is a lot more than just a search engine. It's even the 5th most valuable company in the world. But the only reason why it managed to become as big as it is today is because it focused on just one problem at first. And it did it so well that it became unthinkable to use the internet without it. Yahoo managed to get back to the top spot in 2009 through some questionable practices. For example, they would partner with software providers and reset your search and homepage defaults to Yahoo again without asking for permission. As most people weren't very tech savvy at the time, they wouldn't really know how to change it back, thereby generating Yahoo a lot of visits. As the years went by, smartphones became more popular and younger people started using computers outside of work environments more often. Yahoo quickly dropped back down again. And once Google was back on top, it would start the longest streak of dominance we've ever seen in any of our chart races. So while Google is dominating this list, let's talk about the rise of social media and how it all started with MySpace.
The future of MySpace is about what you're going to do.
It's hard to say how exactly social media started. This is because it's hard to define what differentiates it from old school forums, message boards, and blogs. The website that is often cited as the first true social network is 6degrees.com. They launched in 1997. I mean, either way, MySpace wasn't the first website doing what it did. There was LiveJournal and Friendster before it. And did you know that even LinkedIn released before MySpace? That also makes LinkedIn the oldest social media site that is still growing to this day. Anyway, before MySpace, at least in most of the Western world, social networks were still a very niche thing that only people who were actively using the internet or were in more nerdy circles would know about. But then, as MySpace released and it became more common for households to have internet access, everything changed. MySpace became popular with the kids. It became a thing that people actively talked about in schools. It even ended up determining social circles and breaking up relationships. And if we look at it a bit deeper, it makes sense why this happened. The MySpace profile pages were basically just a blank slate that users could do anything they want to. Some had fancy GIFs in the background and music playing as soon as you clicked on it. Others went with a more simple approach, where they just posted some text on there. It was a way for people to creatively show their individuality to the world. It also had a really popular music player way before Spotify and Apple Music were a thing. But in the end, what got people most hooked onto it was how it gamified social relationships. This is something we see to this day, where numbers mean everything. If you have a lot of followers and friends, you're popular. And if no one's following you, you're irrelevant. And on MySpace, as you could publicly show your 8 most closest friends on your profile and even rank them among each other, a lot of real-life drama ensued from it. Today, we're very well aware why this kind of feature would be a really bad idea, especially for the mental health of children. But back then, the internet was still new and fresh, and people didn't really know any better. By 2006, MySpace became the 4th most popular website in the world. But with this popularity came a lot of problems. Now it wasn't only the teens and young adults on there, it was also their parents. This in turn really turned off the younger crowd. I mean, who wants to discuss their latest crush if their mom could see that? A different problem that arose from its rising popularity was the amount of online scammers and bots that would join the website. For many, MySpace was the first place where they encountered online scams and catfishes. And as if that wasn't enough to make people want to leave the website, the company that bought MySpace in 2005 also constantly increased the amount of ads that were shown. By 2007, MySpace fell quite far down this list, and in its place came Facebook.
Mark, give me the Zuck.
Facebook started in 2004 as an exclusive network for only university students. This exclusivity helped it build up hype around the product. On the one hand, you had MySpace, the website where anyone and their mother could create an account. Everything looked messy and chaotic, and a lot of the people were just straight up obnoxious. On the other hand, you had Facebook, this super clean layout with only educated people that felt like some kind of Ivy League VIP club. In 2006, they went public for anyone, but it was still mostly just used by university students. That same year, they added the newsfeed to Facebook, a singular place where you could see updates from all of your friends. This is when things got serious and most of MySpace users started to migrate. In 2007, Facebook started to get close to MySpace, and then by 2008, it clearly overtook it. With the clean UI, the quick load times, the news feed, but also the good search functions, Facebook just never stopped growing. As Yahoo was dying in 2011, Facebook started crawling up the ladder. And in 2012, it was the 2nd most popular website in the world. But not by that much, because YouTube was always on its tail. We'll talk about YouTube later. First, let's take a look at the website that has been slowly crawling up this list ever since Google became popular. I'm talking about the one and only.
The online encyclopedia now boasts more than 5.7 million articles.
It's crazy to think that there was a time before you could just look stuff up on the internet. Back in the day, you had to go to your local library and just hope they had a book with the information you needed. That, or you had a really rich family that owned an encyclopedia. Considering that the internet started as a way to connect universities with each other, it makes sense that people immediately started building online encyclopedias. One of those was called Nupedia. It was a peer-reviewed encyclopedia that only invited experts to write articles. In 2001, the company behind Nupedia released Wikipedia. Initially, it was meant as a funnel to bring people to Nupedia, but it quickly turned into something much more impressive. By allowing any of their users to write articles, they democratized knowledge. Considering that their user base at the time was mostly academics and experts, Wikipedia quickly became an actual good source of information. Initially, moderation wasn't very present, especially considering that their website wasn't that easy to find, and people that were on the Nupedia mailing list weren't exactly the kind of people to troll online. But then Google came along and changed everything. Google's algorithm ranks pages based on how many times they're referenced on other pages. It also uses other metrics like the click-through rate as well, but ever since the beginning of Google, websites with many backlinks have always been highly ranked. This is why as Google grew, so did Wikipedia. As their user base started ballooning, it was clear that a lot of trolls would end up on the website, and a lot of misinformation was being spread. To combat this, Wikipedia created a moderation system, where trusted users could first double-check other new articles before allowing them on the website. This system wasn't perfect and still isn't perfected to this day, but as time goes on, Wikipedia keeps becoming a more and more trustable source. With this increase in reputation, the user base also continues to increase. By 2017, Wikipedia shortly became the 4th most visited website in the world. And then, a year later, in 2018, YouTube surpassed Facebook.
Yeah, it's rewind time.
Ah, YouTube. Where do I even start? Well, first of all, hi. Thanks for watching me on YouTube. How about you subscribe and leave a comment? Alright, now to the actual bit. YouTube was the first popular public video sharing site. It started right around when the internet became fast enough to load videos in the first place, and ever since has consistently been getting more viewers. I won't go into detail about the whole history of YouTube because that's a long one. They changed quite a lot of things in their lifetime. Instead, I'll explain how it managed to surpass even Facebook. In my whole adult life, I have never met anyone who has never used YouTube. It started out as a website that only people who use the internet regularly know about, but as the internet became more popular and accessible, YouTube became indispensable. Ever since the late 2010s, YouTube has become the second Google. Their search algorithm is amazing, but most importantly, it's easier to follow a visual tutorial than reading an article about something. And even then, educational content only makes up a tiny fraction of YouTube viewers. Many restaurants, cafes, and even workplaces use YouTube to play music to their guests. YouTube has been used for entertainment purposes ever since it was first created, and some people even use YouTube as a babysitter for their kids. YouTube is constantly rising. On the other hand, in 2018, Facebook was struggling. Its user base growth was already slowing down in many Western countries for years before that, and by 2018 this was the case for the entire world, as this was the first year that Facebook's page visits declined. As the pandemic hit in 2020, the website's visits had declined more than 50%. Once it's lost its number 2 spot to YouTube, the video sharing site would keep narrowing its gap with Google. Talking about the pandemic and video sharing sites, how about we discuss the internet's spiciest years?
Are you seriously watching by yourself?
Nah, I'm with my...
During the pandemic, various adult video sites reached high positions on this list. Unfortunately though, as we don't want this video to be age restricted, we can't go into any more detail. Instead, let's talk a little bit about today, because in 2025, ChatGPT shot up to the number 5 position on this list. Today, most people have started using AI regularly in their daily lives, whether it be to reformat an email, take a picture of something to find out what it is, companionship and socializing, or just plain old finding answers to questions. AI is here to stay. And with ChatGPT being the best AI on the market and free to access, it just makes sense that it would land on the number 5 spot in this list. I personally predict that various AI websites will continue rising until they outshine even Google eventually. Sure, right now language models like to hallucinate and make mistakes a lot, but it's only going to get better. At some point, it might even completely revolutionize how we access the internet in the first place. Just like what Google did way back when it first started. When this happens, a lot of jobs will be lost, but a lot of other jobs will be created as well. This is not the first time we've seen this kind of shift, but it is the first time that it affects this many blue-collar jobs. I personally like to remain hopeful in these kinds of situations. Who knows, maybe AI will be a catalyst that brings out great change. Anyway, let me know what you guys think about this. Do you think ChatGPT is going to overtake Google, or do you think that this is the highest it will ever be? Who knows, maybe a third competitor will come out of nowhere and overtake everyone else. I'm curious to know about your opinion on this in the comments. Have a good one and see you next time.